Genshin go baby. What's good, guys? Yoku here. I need y'all to understand something when I say this. You guys know how I am, okay? And if you don't, hi, my name's Io, or Iogi, or Iodos, or Ioku, whichever channel you happen to find. My point being is that I'm a very passionate guy. When I speak about things that I'm passionate about, I might get a little heated. Me getting heated, I'm not attacking you. I will later in the video, but I'm passionate about the things that I like. I'm very passionate about this game. I've been hunting this game since they showed Zenless anything. There's a lot of reasons that I've been into Zenelss Zone Zero, but the gist of what I'm getting at, so we can kind of introduce the video here, Zenelss Zone Zero might not be for you, and that's totally okay. You don't have to always be the target audience, right? You don't need to be the target audience for everything. Every single game that you happen to like or want to be interested in does not need to cater to you. Let me elaborate on this, because this is gonna sound hypocritical, but I promise you it's not. Genshin Impact was one of the games that, obviously it's the birth, right? The forefounding father, the mother, if you will, of these type of gacha games. Hoyoverse, even if you want to think about it that way. Obviously we had Honkai Impact third before that, but Genshin is what really took off Hoyoverse. Genshin was something that a lot of us players, we were under the impression that we're building these characters, we're having a great time, you're pulling these characters for a very specific reason, which would have been in-game, harder content, because that's typically where gacha games go. Some type of game, some type of grind goes towards in-game. We didn't get that. They even came out and said Genshin is not receiving in-game. In fact, just to double down, most recently, I don't know if it was this previous patch or the patch before that, they made bosses easier. Genshin's already not a hard game. They made it easier. They made a patch, or they did something in the patch to where they're like, hey, if this boss is too difficult for you, you can turn this setting on and reduce the boss. You can change the boss's difficulty. The world boss is too hard for you, go ahead and knock that down. That's bullshit. And I don't say that because I don't want players to be able to play the game. That's not where I'm at all. That's not my mentality whatsoever. I want everybody to be able to enjoy the game. But making it easier when your community was asking for it to be harder, that's crazy. So yes, when I hear people say they want an easier game, they want no challenging content, go play Genshin Impact. That's the best way that I could put that. And I don't mean that in a derogatory or negative manner. I mean that straight up. You guys are very entitled, and it's obviously it's not everybody. When I say you guys, I'm not targeting you specifically unless this happens to be about you, but I don't think it is. My point being is that there are so many entitled people right now. I saw this in Starro. I make Starro content, and Starro recently came out with the 1.6 announcement and straight up said, hey, look, we heard you guys. We see that a lot of our players want more difficult content. You think that Simulated Universe is not challenging for you. Maybe it's too easy because of the buffs. We see that MOC is just getting ran through. You guys have no need for building characters, which obviously that's going to hinder them in the future. If you don't need to pull anything, and I've talked about this in a number of videos, if players no longer need to pull for characters, there's no reason for them to do it. Hoyoverse does not get money. The Starro team does not get money. So when you're looking at this from a perspective of like, okay, I got Don Hung, I got Daniel, I have Jing Liu, I have Silverwolf, and I have Fu Xuan and Huohuo, or I have Locha. Nothing else in the game requires me to pull for it. Why? Because there's no difficult content in the game that select group of characters that I just named cannot beat. Even if I throw Zila into the mix of it, I throw Pela into the mix of it, those 8 to 10 characters, you can beat everything in the game. Easy, free. There's no, it doesn't matter what they do. They would have to make more difficult character enemies, bosses, whatever. How do they fix this? And I said this in the video. So they decided to make MOC 11 and 12. Thank fucking goodness. I love it. I love that they did that. Not only that, but they made Pure Fiction, which is a mode basically Simulated Universe except for MOC. Like it's the MOC version of Simulated Universe, something like that. And it's a ladder. Boom, 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 boom. You're climbing up to the top, right? The higher you get, the more skilled you are. It comes down to pure skill. You could pull any amount of characters. You could whale whatever you want. The higher you get, allegedly, pure skill. Doesn't matter how much you whale. So now, not only will that destroy hypercomp as like a team comp, yeah, you might be able to get away with hypercomp, but the higher you get, the stronger these enemies get, the more difficult they become. Boom, you're gonna get clapped. So now it forces players to build different teams, to pull characters, or incentivizes them to pull a character. I won't say force. It incentivizes you to do that. But you know the best part about this? You don't have to play this mode. This mode is made for the people who they're catering to, the ones looking for a challenge, the ones looking to use these characters and test their might. You don't have to play this mode. And I think that's what Starro did the best, is that you have an option of being free to play, casual player, or whatever, enjoying Simulated Universe, having a great time. You want to enjoy the story, have a great time. You want to play MOC up to 10 and get all the jades, have a great time. You can work your way up to that. You want to do 11 and 12 because they're significantly harder, allegedly, you can do that. I want to play Pure Fiction because I want to test my might and get to like floor 99, I'm allowed to do that. It has something for everyone. When I saw so many comments basically bitching about we don't want Star Rail to have more challenging content, why are they doing this? I could barely get through MOC 5. This is bullshit. They shouldn't be doing this in the game. Blah 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 blah. No, absolutely not. And this is where the entitled part comes from. I love my free-to-play game. I'm free to play in a lot of games, especially gachas. I don't get a say so in what dictates the direction of these games. I can ask for it, I can express my opinion, but at the end of the day, I should not be allowed to have a large portion of the say so when it comes to the direction of these games. I say this because you aren't actually putting money in their pockets. Yes, free-to-plays are a large majority of the game. That's fine. You play the game, you get on it every day, you grind your life out. That's awesome. You're not actually funding them. So in the event, let's say that everyone was free to play in Star Rail, right? Or even Genshin, and they no longer receive money. Nobody's paying for anything. No whales, no dolphins, no nothing. No battle passes, nothing like that. Where do they get the money from to keep funding the game? You don't. So then it cancels, right? The game gets closed down, shut down, whatever. Now everybody's like, oh man, what do most players do? Oh, let's just go find another game to play. Because they haven't invested anything into the game besides time, which you can't get time back, but it's not monetary. It's not like you dump $3,000 into the game. Whatever. Now we get to I know that was long. I really need to explain all that. The whole point of what I'm trying to get you guys to understand is that Zenless is not for you. I gave you the backstory on Genshin. I gave you the backstory on Star Rail. Now we're at Zenless. Zenless is not the game for you, and that's totally okay. Right now, and I have an impression video coming out probably tomorrow. Zenless is a beautiful game that I think doesn't know what its target audience is. They made a game with some type of concept in mind, but the marketing team, whoever's running Zenless, they don't know who their actual target audience is. You can't target Genshin players because they're looking for something easy that looks pretty and is a waifu collector, right? With some great story. I don't know. You can't target Star Rail players because they're looking for the turn-based system. They're looking for a little bit of a challenge, and they want a lot more lax in their gameplay, something like the auto feature, right? Zenless is quite literally, and I tweeted about this, Zenless is basically a fighting game mixed with a roguelike, so Dead Cells, if you're familiar with those type of games, mixed with Dark Souls or Bloodborne, some Soulsborne-like game, and then you slap the Hoyoverse flavor and text all over it. Yeah, the color, the characters, the stylized thing, whatever. This game is an amalgamation of so many other things. For me, this is the closest thing to a perfect gacha game that I could even ask for. For others, not so much. Some think it's really easy, and yeah, someone's gonna comment this, I already know. I did see MTash's video. I saw his stream last night. I tried to talk to him about it, but I think he was recording. I don't know. Personal, like direct, straight to MTash, and this also goes to any other players. The game's just not for you. It's totally fine. If you think the game is easy and you guys, and it's not just straight to MTash. I mean, everyone, nobody is at the point in the game of hard content, right? You're at the game just dropped. The game just dropped. You're telling me you sunk 12 hours. You sunk 12 hours of gameplay into a 2.5 hour stream. How? You can't do that. No one could possibly do that. I haven't even done that. I didn't even get to the point in the game where I could look at like, okay, yeah, chapter 2. This is what's going on. These are the new modes that we have in the game until this morning of playing almost nonstop. I slept, right? But then I woke up, let's play the game. No one has gotten to that point yet in the game where you could do that. Obviously, unless you just, you stayed up all night playing the game, then you might be at that point. There are different things that you unlock. Let's look at this like Persona, because it does have Persona vibes, right? Persona 5, for instance, you don't really unlock the game until you beat Kamoshida. Like Kamoshida's palace is about 3 to 5 hours long, depending on how you play the game. It's a very long tutorial. The whole Kamoshida Palace is basically a tutorial. Once you beat it, now you unlock the rest of the game. A lot of players who do like Persona, especially if you're a vet and you already played Persona prior to that, we despise having to restart Persona 5 specifically because of Kamoshida's Palace. It's just too fucking long. Newer players won't know that. They're getting in Persona, they like it, whatever the case may be. Zenless gives me those vibes. Once you get through chapter 1, you're done with the tutorial. Chapter 1 is like the tutorial of the game. It's showing you everything, pay attention to all that kind of stuff. Great. So once you get into chapter 2, things open up. You get a brand new mode. You get less of the TV. And guys, I know, trust me, I'm right there with you. The TV roguelike system, bad. I like roguelike mechanics. I like the ideas. I think what they're implementing into the TV right now, horrible design. And again, maybe it's just chapter 1. In chapter 2, there's a lot less TV, a lot less bullshit, empty boxes, and more fighting. So who knows? Chapter 3, 4, 5, you might get more access to that. In the pure fighting mode, you might have like only one TV instance and everything else is just fighting. You might have a ladder system or a climb system like in Honkai Impact 3rd, the Elysian Realm, something like that. It might be in this game. I don't know yet. And once I find that out, I'll tell you guys. If anybody else knows from like previous betas, by all means. But I do know a lot has changed from CBT1 to CBT2. That goes further beyond the beginning of the game. I don't think they changed the beginning of the game too much, but they did change overall the game, right? There's a lot of things about this that aren't the same. Characters got changed, kits got changed or messed around with, the way combos work got changed. A lot of stuff is different in the game. We don't even have Miyabi, which is the samurai girl. She's like the Ayaka of this game, right? We don't even have her in the game. She was in the previous beta, now she's not in this beta, which is probably gonna be like, oh, she doesn't come out for another year, whatever. Or maybe they're gonna turn into a limited character, I don't know. The game has Elden Ring or Souls-like function, mechanics, the dodge system. Similar to Honkai Impact 3rd or Tower of Fantasy, Zenless is a much more active game, which means you need to pay attention to things. So when I hear people and other creators, oh, I can just left click, I can literally W key and I'm good. There is only one character that I've seen in the game that can straight up W key. Doesn't matter the difficulty at all, is Ben. Ben the giant bear, he's a tank. He can W key because he has this thing called anti-interrupt. Anti-interrupt is basically, and if you've played the game or you've seen it, you might have seen some players getting staggered. So if an enemy hits you while you're mid combo, you kind of stagger back. But the same thing works for other enemies, right? So if you hit an enemy while they're attacking, if you hit them with a heavy attack, they also stagger back. Nicole, if you do attack any of her like regular normal basic attacks and you hold it, then she launches a missile like a little rocket, it boom, like a shotgun. Anything that's not a boss gets blown the fuck back. They get blown all the way back. Great, wonderful, I love it. There are mechanics like this in the game that are unique to certain characters' kits that really evolve how the combat works, how combat systems or combo systems will work, the EX special moves being completely different than the regular special moves when you want to use one versus the other. There's a lot about this game that has way more depth to it than what anyone is going to be able to look at and tell in 2.5 hours. I just happen to know this stuff because I play the fuck out of Elden Ring. I play the fuck out of Bloodborne, Dark Souls. Monster Hunter is one of my biggest franchises that I'm a huge fan of, a huge fanatic of. I've been playing that since like Monster Hunter Freedom. The roguelike, so Dead Cells, Hades, Enter the Gungeon, there's a lot of these things combined into one game, one function, right? I'm familiar with all these different things from around to be able to look at this and tell you, oh, and then of course FGC, y'all know that. I'm familiar to be able to tell these things from a mile away. So as long as Zenless, the team, doesn't fuck this game up, if you cater to the right audience, which your right audience, I promise Zenless, if this thing ever gets clipped, I promise you, your target audience is not a Genshin player. I say that, it sounds so derogatory. I don't mean it that way, right? I'm not trying to say that Genshin is like a bad thing. I love Genshin Impact. I still play the game myself. What I mean by that is a free-to-play player who is not looking for a challenge, who wants something very easy, and they're only here to collect characters. That's it. They don't care about building the character. They don't care about whether or not a weapon enhances the character or if a certain relic is better than the other. They don't care about different builds. That's another thing that I'll talk about in a whole different video. But basically, the relic system or the gear system in this game is not so tied to Genshin where it's like, oh, the Electro set is Anbi's best set and nothing else is gonna, no. This gear system, from what I've seen so far and the future gears as well, this gear system is much more akin to a Souls-like or rogue-like game, where you can make different builds to do different things. So if I wanted Anbi to do DPS, I can make a DPS build. If I wanted Anbi to do shock, which is the, what do they call it in the game? The something application or whatever, but you can apply these different elements to an enemy and then the element has a thing, and then like how much of it happens is based off the percentage that you have. I forget the name of it, but it'll be in the gameplay, something like that. Point being is that if I want her to do shock and I want her to paralyze the enemy so the enemy never has a turn, I can do that. If I want to make Miyabi, which is the Ayaka, and I want to make her freeze all the time, I could do that. And so now you get into a point where it's like, okay, yeah, DPS matters, but because it's an active game, you don't really have a rotation until you stun the enemy. Once you stun the enemy, then you can do your rotation because the enemy is no longer moving. But as long as the AI is moving, it's active, it can stun you. There's not a true rotation in this game. You can't truly say, oh yeah, here's my rotation. Left click, skill, left click, dodge, skill. No, you don't get that, because if you get hit, your rotation stops. If you need to switch, your rotation stops. If the character trigger thing triggers and you need to switch to whatever, or you get blown back, your rotation stops. There's so much about an active combat system that makes this game fucking phenomenal. Fanatic. I'm so excited about this game. So it pisses me off. Yes, I'm very passionate. It pisses me off when I see people, you don't accept that something's not for you, so you demand change. Like you're demanding that it has to change. It needs to adapt to what you want. It has to conform. If Hoyo doesn't do this, the game's gonna fail. This isn't Genshin Impact, blah, 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 blah. I'm not feeling the same spark. That's cool. It doesn't have to give you, if you guys can't tell, this is giving me a spark bigger than Genshin. If y'all were in the stream last night, the moment I played this game and I got my hands on it for the second time, I saw the difference in like how combos work. I saw the EX special moves. I got blown back. It was something that I have not experienced in a long time. So yes, this is for me. There are two things that I have an issue with in the game. After that, it's a perfect game for me. It might not be perfect for you, and that's okay. If more people accepted that fact, we'd have a much better gacha experience. As a community, as an environment, we would have a much better gacha experience. So you could have your easy game. That's Genshin Impact. That's half of Star Rail. Why does Zenless need to be super easy or super hard? I don't even need it to be super hard. I need somewhere in the middle, right? But why does it need to be that? It doesn't have to cater to everyone. They need to pick a target audience. I never answered that. My bad, Zenless team. Your target audience are players like me. You're looking for the players who are looking for a Elden Ring or a Bloodborne, whatever Souls-like type of thing, Monster Hunter type of experience within the game. You're looking for players who love the story so far. It's Persona styled. The comic theme is amazing. The slightly mature, I understand the censorship, guys. I'm not going to talk about censorship in this video. I'm there with you. But the 16 plus rating or mature things about the story, that's your target audience. I could literally go to Twitter right now and show you guys how many people actively refuse to play Genshin Impact or Star Rail because of the way the game is, but they are so excited for Zenless. They saw gameplay of Zenless and the gacha got thrown out the window. Oh, it's a gacha game? I don't care. I'll be free to play or spend money. You have players who don't care that it's a gacha. The gacha part doesn't scare them anymore. Why? Because the gameplay itself looks so good to them. Fighting game players are looking at Zenless. Dark Souls players are looking at Zenless. You have roguelike people who like play Dead Cells nonstop looking at Zenless. This game is not going to cater to everyone, but the target audience that it's looking for are those players. You need to 100% cater to those are the ones that are spending money. I promise you. Cater to the ones that are spending the money on your game, that want the game. That's where you need to be. Yes, this is a rant. I'm done. I don't know if this has to go up today, but I don't know if it's going up on usual time. Point being is that, guys, I gotta go pee. But yeah, this is a great video for me. I got that off my chest. I'm very disappointed in how a lot of people have been responding to Zenless after like 3 hours of playing the game. It's okay for it to not be for you. That's it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. If you got into the beta, how do you feel about the game? If you watched someone play the beta, how do you feel about the game? My personal disgruntlement, or like I don't like the grievances. My personal grievances with the game, I'll say this to end it off. I think the TV system, the roguelike TV feature needs to be reworked. I like the things in the TV mode. I don't like having to manually click through empty boxes. I'll tell you guys right now, using controller is the best way to go through the TV mode, because you can literally, I could spam click 3 or 4 times and I've zoomed through the TV mode, versus using my mouse. I have to manually move, click, move, click, move, click. Nope. Use a controller through TV mode. I promise you it's the best experience possible. And then 2, we don't need as much of the TV mode, if we're being honest. Make this more about the gameplay, the combat, the action. Make TV mode secondary. The roguelike features can remain. I think if they were to include the roguelike features or selection inside of the actual like hollow, when you get into the hollow is the world where you're actively fighting like the characters. Put the TV mode in the hollow, so when you clear a stage similar to Elysian Realm, you get to the end of the stage, hey, I can choose which little thing that I want to go through, right? Or I could go and open this box and get this experience for whatever. Treat it like an actual roguelike, where in Dead Cells, for instance, I could go from like the top of the map, drop all the way down to the bottom because I went through a secret door and now I have a secret item. Now, here's a fun fact. I would love to see this because there's an inkling of it in the game, but I don't think it's permanent. I have to get further in the game. If you spend too much time in TV mode, you get a corruption. I think corruption is too weak. It's not, there's no fear in corruption. You need to provide something akin to a Reaper. If you're familiar with Persona games, the Reaper in the Persona means that you've been hanging around Tartarus, you've been hanging around the Mementos too long. You need to get out. You've been here too long. Your time is no longer welcome. Get out. If you don't, the Reaper comes for you. The Reaper is so strong that you can't fight the Reaper until you're like level 80, level 99, or you cheese him, right? You got to fight him while he's sick. Then you need something like that in the game. If TV mode is going to be as open. Either condense it so that I don't need to spend 5 million days in TV mode, or keep it the way it is now, reduce my amount of moves that I should be looking to do, because then that'll add strategy and how to clear the TV mode and get everything, and also include a Reaper. Hey, you've taken 50 moves or 100 moves over what the cap might be. The Reaper is coming. So every time you move, the Reaper moves. If you travel backwards, the Reaper is right there. Boom, you got to fight the Reaper now. And you can make it skill based, right? Like if I beat the Reaper, sure, but there's no reason that the Reaper shouldn't one-shot me and I'm level 10, he's level like 1,000,000. Or if I do beat him, it takes me 5 hours because I'm only doing 1 damage. Little things like that. Second thing that I have with it, bring co-op. Bring co-op and air, I guess that's 3 things. Yeah, co-op and air combos, but I'll talk about that in another video. This video is long enough. I apologize for taking up a lot of y'all's time. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. And yes, I want Zenless to do very good. I want more people to look at this game that have not looked at Genshin or stuck with Genshin or Starro. That's a better way to say that. I would love if Genshin players and Starro players tried Zenless and loved it. I really would. I think this game is phenomenal. I think this is a very good game for a lot of players. I think there's a strong niche in this, but I don't think that it's fair to give it any of the backlash that it's receiving right now because of titty size going down 1 cup and because players are judging this based off an hour of gameplay. That's just not fair. But yeah, I bring back Nicole's tits.